Hey friends, it's Simon Hurley from Inklipse and welcome to another video. Now today I am so excited to give you a closer look at some of the products from my newest release. We're going to take a look at the Mythical Mermaid stamp set and the Seafloor background stamp. Now these are both so much fun. I had tons of fun designing them and I cannot wait to share kind of with all of you and see what you all create with them. It's always fun to see my drawings kind of come to life in your projects, and be sure to use the hashtag SimonHurleyCreate if you share your projects on social media. And then I have the Seafloor background stamp, which is kind of unlike any other background that I've seen yet. I had so much fun designing and drawing this, so you have some really awesome plants, and look, if you take a really close look, Stampers Anonymous did such a fantastic job at getting all of the little tiny details in this stamp. So let's start off with this fun background stamp, and let's do some heat embossing with this because I want to do some cool inky techniques and kind of hopefully capture all of the detail that's in this stamp. So let's start out with my anti-static pouch. I'm going to go over top of my watercolor cardstock so that we can make sure that there's no static on here and that the embossing powder won't stick anywhere I don't want it. And then I'll go in with my perfect medium, and here I have to choose kind of which side of the stamp that I want, and I think I'll do kind of this section over here, which I really love, so I'll start inking this up. I use the perfect medium because I find it's a super strong ink. You could totally go in with some embossing ink as well. And then I'll go in with my watercolor cardstock and place it down. When I'm doing this, I just want to go in and I stamp my background stamps upward like this so I can give lots of pressure on the back of the background stamp so everything transfers over really nicely. So I'm just going to give some really good pressure all over there so we capture all of that awesome detail that's in the stamp. And there we go. We've got all that detail in there. You can't really see it too much yet, but I'm going to move that off to the side and bring in my white embossing powder. And I keep this in a nice container like this so that it's super easy to pour over the top of my project. So here we go. I'm just going to dump that right over the top. Then let's go in here with some of the inks to kind of blend out some underwater scene. So I'm just going to go in with my inks and bring it in on different parts of the background. I like to do kind of 3 sections of that same color. So we'll start out with clear skies here, and I'm just going into here. And to create the underwater background, I like to use blues, and then I'll go into Remember Me as well, which is my darker kind of blue teal kind of color. And I'll bring that in here as well. I like to do blues for underwater backgrounds, but I don't like to overdo the blue. I like to bring in some other colors too, because you get that it's kind of an underwater scene, but let's bring in some colors that go really well with that. So I'll go in with some Later Gator, which is a really great color to pair with those blues. It kind of brings in a little bit more color to here. So I'm going to bring in some Overzealous, and this is going to bring some bright, vibrant color to my background. Overzealous always kind of cheers up the background a little bit. A little bit of Slippery When Wet, and this is a great color to bring in as well with the yellow and green. With the blue and green, this yellow really brightens up the background quite a bit. So I'm just going to bring it into this corner here. And yellow brightens up the other colors as well. So if you want to bring it over into some of the bluer areas, it'll kind of just brighten that up. And you can, of course, bring back in some colors. So if I want a little bit more blue, if I feel like I went a little bit too heavy-handed on some of the other colors, I can kind of mix it together. But these are translucent dye-based inks, the Simon Hurley Create line. So when you layer up colors like this, you're going to get new colors in the place, which I really love. I think it creates a really cool effect. And then I'm going to go in with my spray bottle, and I'm just going to kind of wet this down, add some water droplets here and there to create some cool effects on here of lifting the color off and kind of moving it around a little bit. So my inks create that really kind of fun, lighter color, almost bleaching effect when you add that color on top, which I think is lots of fun. And you can wipe off a little bit of that color from the embossing as well, because when you ink blend over top, it'll kind of take on some of that color. So now let's move on to the Mythical Mermaid stamp set, and I want to show you how to line up the tail with the body of either the unicorn or the bear. It's super easy to do, but I just want to show you in case if you haven't done a stamp like this yet before, and there is some tips and tricks that I can give to help make it just a little bit easier. But we tried to make it as easy as possible when designing this to kind of make sure that those line up really nicely. Okay, so I'm going to start out with the tail here because that's easiest. Since the way you're sitting on your project, it's easiest to line up the body with the tail rather than the tail when the body is already stamped. So I'm going to just stamp that down. You get a nice clean, crisp image. And then I'll attach the body onto the acrylic block. And we're going to do some stamping here. And I'm going to give you a couple tips to make this as easy as possible. So I like to move my chair kind of out a little bit, and then I like to get low and look right with the image to see exactly when it's going to line up. And you can see exactly when that stamp is hitting that tail. Give it some good pressure there. And there we have our stamped image. So there is that fun little unicorn lined up with the mermaid tail. It's super easy to do because you can see when that stamp is touching. Rather than looking through the acrylic block, looking kind of at an angle to it is going to really help make sure to line that up nicely. And that goes with any stamp set. If you have the Dudes 2 stamp set too, you know that the heads line up with the bodies. It's easiest to look kind of at an angle rather than looking through the acrylic block. So let's get to coloring this little unicorn in. I'm going to use my Simon Hurley Create inks. I'm going to make a color palette, and I think rainbow is kind of fitting for a little unicorn. So I'm going to start off with Bee Sting. We'll go into Traffic Cone, which is that orange color. Some Slippery When Wet, which is my yellow. We'll do some Overzealous. I almost skipped that. That's a nice bright green. Clear Skies, which is my blue. And then we'll even go into some Triple Berry, which is the purple. Woof is my gray color, named after my puppy. So once I've got my color palette laid out here, I'm going to take my Distress sprayer. And lately I found that just painting with a regular paintbrush and water is kind of better than a water brush for me. It gives me a little bit more control. So I'm just going to grab this. This is just a paintbrush from Ranger's Artist Paintbrush Pack, but it's going to help with painting this in. So I'm just going to go in here, and I'm just working on my stark white cardstock. You could totally work with watercolor cardstock if you'd like. And I'm just going to go in here with some of my color. I find that I get a ton of control when I work with just a paintbrush, which I really like. Sometimes I struggle with that with a water brush, and if you do too, maybe that's why. Maybe try switching to just a paintbrush. It really helps painting this in. Sometimes I just go to the water brush just for ease of use. But this really does a great job at making sure you're getting all the control you want, applying as much color as you want. I skipped the green. Okay, so I'm just going to go in here. And make sure you get as much control as you want, the saturation of color that you'd like. It really gives you all the control over everything as you're painting in, which I love. Instead of like putting out too much water, you get just the right amount. You can wipe off your brush in between the colors. And then for the body of the unicorn, I'm just going to go in with a little bit of the Woof color to paint that in. And for shading, I just go right back into the water and kind of drag out a little bit of that color. It's super easy to do, and of course you can use your finger to blot off some of the color. I'm not like really great at watercolor by any means, but you can definitely, it's pretty easy to do, and you can definitely make it work by just kind of bringing in some color. And I swear that this, just using the paintbrush, really does help. So if you're struggling with it, like I've been saying. Now, one thing I wanted to share about the Mermaid stamp set is I didn't draw or include any scales in these tails. I was asked if I wanted to. I was asked if I liked the texture in there. What I wanted to do is leave that out, and you might be kind of wondering why. Well, one cool thing is you can use your stencils to do some blending to get some really cool texture in there, which I think is awesome. And I'll probably do a whole nother video on adding texture to these tails. But for right now, I wanted to show kind of how to draw in some of the texture, which I think is a really fun way to add it in on your project. Here, I'm just gonna go in and add my own little textures. So whether you wanna draw your own mandala, your own little flowers in here, I think I'll do some flowers today. So I'll just do a little circle, maybe some little daisies, and you can really have fun drawing your own design. And that's what I wanted you to be able to do. I wanted you to have your own creative freedom rather than having something already in there for you. If you wanted to leave it blank, you totally can, because it looks like a mermaid tail anyway. I don't think you need scales in it to know that it's a tail. And on one of my examples, I did some scales like this too, which is super easy to do. I actually left it when I was filming at Ranger, but hopefully I'll have it soon to share with you. So there you really can see none of these flowers are perfect, but it's super cool to be able to draw your own fun little designs in there. I love how that looks in the end. You could draw your own scales, your own little mandala. Here I stuck to little flowers. Of course, you could use some of the stamps in the set as well. One of the things I like to do is use these little bubbles to make some texture in there. You could use the little star in here or hearts. So I've cut out a circle and added my little mermaid inside there, and then I'm going to finish off the card with the "You Make Me Happy" sentiment, and I'm just going to stamp it right in some of the open space that's inside of that circle there. And there we go. And then to finish off the card, I add my sequins on and kind of see if I like the placement of them. And if I do, I take out my tweezers and my distressed collage medium, and then I just start adhering them right down to my card. I like to use the different sizes of sequins and place them around my card in groups of 2 or 3, and this is just gonna help draw the eye. But I really love the placement there of the sequins, and some even look like little bubbles, which I just love. So here is the finished card. I love that fun seafloor background stamp with those plants on it to kind of create that underwater scene, as well as this fun little unicorn mermaid. I think it's so adorable how you can draw your own designs on here or kind of stencil them in, and you'll definitely be seeing more of both of these stamps in the future. Again, I've really only touched the surface of these stamps, and you'll definitely be seeing more of them in the future and more examples using them. Check out the description box for links to both of these stamps and a full supplies list of all the products I used in today's video, as well as my latest Simon Hurley Create release. I cannot wait for you guys to check out all those products, and if you use my links, it helps me out a little bit, and I really appreciate that. If you want to do any shopping at Ranger, be sure to use the code SIMON20 at checkout there for 20% off your purchase, so you can definitely stock up on some awesome Simon Hurley Create products or any of your favorite Ranger ink products. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Be sure to leave a comment down below, or any questions. I would love to chat with you guys down there. And be sure to hit that big subscribe button, as well as the little bell icon next to it, to make sure you never miss notifications and another video like this one from me. Alright, I'll see you guys very soon for another card making and crafting video. Have a great day. Bye!